Hey guys, Kel here. Today I'll be reviewing the Victorinox Swiss Army Outrider. And this is a larger version of a Swiss Army knife. This is a 111 millimeter knife. And like I said, it's a larger version, a little larger than the typical Swiss Army knife I think we're all accustomed to seeing. Like, let's say this Tinker here. As you can see, it's considerably larger, and I'm going to be saying that throughout this review because it is in all aspects, so I'll be getting to that. It's also a 4-layer knife. There's 4 layers to this knife, and it packs quite a bit of tools. So we're going to get through all those. The scale material, the handle material, is red nylon, which is a lot different than your typical Swiss Army Celador type plastic scales found on the smaller Swiss Army knives like this Tinker. And as you can see, this has a duller finish, and it's kind of got a texture to it. If you can pick up on that, it's kind of got a texture, and it seems like it's a little softer than the Celador scales too. Seems like these can take a lot more punishment. These might scratch a little easier because they're so shiny, but this I never had any trouble, but I don't know, it just seemed to me like it was a little softer plastic. So the weight on this knife is 4.7 ounces. And the thickness for these 4 layers is a little less than 7/8. I put my calipers on there, and it was a little less than 7/8 of an inch. So, and the height overall is about 1 1/4 inches. So if you take tools and everything else all together and get to the widest point, it's about little less than 1 1/4. The frame, like below the scales, and these separators, these spacers here, are all aluminum, which adds to the lightness of this knife. I mean, if those were all stainless, it'd be pretty heavy. But all the spacers and this underneath the scales here, that's all aluminum. So the main blade, the tools, the back springs, now that's all stainless steel. All nice stainless steel. And the type of stainless steel for the main blade, the best I could find, of course on the internet, so it must be true, is that the blade steel is what is called a 1.411 or an X55 CR MO14 stainless steel, which is supposedly about the same as a Sandvik 12C27. But like I said, the tools, the back springs, all of that, they are also stainless, and it's probably a variation of the blade steel with just a different heat treat, I'm guessing. So overall, close, this knife is 4 3/8 overall. And with the main blade open, the knife comes in around 7 7/8 overall. The blade itself is 3 3/8 long with a cutting edge of about 3 1/8. So you have about 3 1/8 of cutting edge. You got a nice long area of flat blade here, and then this belly, which I think all Victorinox knives are known for. And the blade shape is a flat ground. It's a drop point, and it's a locking blade. It has a side lock, as you can see. This, you pull back on this lock right here, and it closes. And you open it, it locks. Now it does lock. It does have a little blade play in locked position, but its only purpose is to keep it from snapping closed on your finger. So it's not meant to be heavy duty lock, but it does do its job of keeping it from slamming on your fingers. So that's a good thing. And the sharpness. And of course, you know, all Victorinox knives come pretty sharp right out of the box. Out on there. course, I'm terrible at cutting paper behind the camera, so something I guess you got to learn. I can do it all day long, but from behind the camera. There we go. So it is nice and sharp. It's just me behind the camera having trouble. But this is real thin paper. This is Sportsman's Guide catalog. So there you go. So razor sharp, like all Victorinox knives, not a problem. That was just me. Tools. Let's see. Let's go over the back layer first. The tools in the back layer. And you would think, I thought, of course, a tool this size with 4 layers, you'd have more back area layer tools. But you got your reamer awl, which is your standard reamer awl. It's no different than the reamer awl that's in this Tinker. I mean, it's the same thing through and through. They didn't change that at all. It has the sewing eye, so it has that. Has this corkscrew, which I think there are more purposes for a corkscrew than the Phillips screwdriver. For outdoor tasks especially, like knot removal. You can use this tip to get in and loosen a knot, or even wrap a cordage around here and pull on the cordage to tighten the cordage. That's good for that. It's good for scraping, things like that. So, a lot of Swiss Army knives has replaced this with a Phillips or vice versa. I like the corkscrew. I used to like the Phillips, but now I like the corkscrew. This little mini screwdriver here, I bought that separately. That's for your eyeglasses and things. It fits right in the corkscrew. That's a great thing for any of these to have, and that's another reason I like the corkscrew, because I can put that little mini screwdriver right in there. So you have the reamer awl, the corkscrew, and the key ring, which Victorinox calls a tool. So I don't, but that's what they consider it as a tool. Top layer tools. We already looked at the main blade. I'm not going to go over that again. I already covered that. But it has typical Victorinox Swiss Army scissors. Very sharp, very good, works very well. And in that same layer, I don't know if you can see here, but on the other side, you pull up this little hook right here, and it has an inline Phillips screwdriver. So I like that. It's got an inline screwdriver. It's not as big as the one that would be on the back layer, but it works, and it works well. So the only problem with it is you have to open the scissors before you can open up the screwdriver. So that's unique. The cap lifter has a cap lifter, flat screwdriver, large flat screwdriver, and a wire stripper. And of course the standard can opener and small flat screwdriver on this one. So there's the top layer tools, pretty much, except for one. And I left it best for last, the star of our show here. Star of our show is the wood saw. That's the wood saw. And I like this wood saw on this one. It's a lot bigger in size comparison compared to, let's say, a wood saw on like the Huntsman. Here's the Huntsman, and there's the Outrider. Considerable difference in size. Makes this one much more useful. Now I got some footage I'll roll in and you can see, and that was what I was cutting there was really hard walnut. And of course, I didn't have it supported very well, so it looks like I struggled, but it cuts really, really nice. And it is much more useful than say one on a 91 millimeter Swiss Army knife. So it works really well for that. So that's one of the things I love about this knife, and one of the reasons I bought it. Of course, Swiss Army knife, you have your typical tweezers, and on the other side you have your toothpick. So you have your typical tools in the scale there. Very useful, especially out doing things. Get a splinter, there you go. You've got your tweezers. Works really well for that. Okay, some impressions and observations of this knife. First of all, it's great quality. Really good quality. I have never had any trouble with a Swiss Army knife at all as far as poor workmanship or just attention to detail, fit finish, always been really good. And what I like about this one especially, stainless steel, it resists rust and corrosion very well. That's one of the good things about it. I also like the longer blade. I mean, that blade is a long blade for a Swiss Army knife. I really like that. And I also like the fact that it's a locking blade. It's a locking blade. And for a knife this size, it's really, you can see how it's contoured and scalloped and kind of curved here on the back on the top there. So when you wrap your fingers around this, let me zoom out a little bit. When you wrap your fingers around it, it's pretty ergonomic. I mean, yeah, you can feel like these tools here, but there's really not a hot spot, and that's really great. I think you could use this for quite a while, whatever task you may be doing or whatever tool you may be using. So it's very ergonomic. So another thing I really like about this one is that inline screwdriver. I like that because you can put some pressure as you're turning on this one, whereas I've had them on the back side here, like this Tinker, for example. I've tried to put pressure on that, and this thing will close on you. So I like it being inline. You can get a lot more pressure on what you're turning than it on the back one that's on the back layer. So I like that. So as I said, the saw is what I really like about it. So I've told you about that. So it's a lot of useful tools in one package. So those are the things I like about it. Now what don't I like about it? Well, not a whole lot, to be honest with you. I guess, I have preferences, and if I had my preferences, I'd rather they'd used a little better stainless steel. But you know what? That is what it is, and I think they go for resisting the rust and corrosion more than holding an edge, because the fact is, if you use this knife, you're going to have to sharpen it. But on the flip side, I guess another plus would be it's easy to sharpen. You can do a few strokes on the sharp maker on that big blade and it's razor sharp again. So no problems there whatsoever. Another thing is, this is just a big knife to put in your pocket, that is. I tried carrying it in my front pocket, and you know what? It didn't fit well. It was always there. I could tell it was there. It was bulky. It would turn sideways. It was just, I didn't like it in my pocket. This is a knife. You put a lanyard on it. You clip it to your pack. You put it in your pack. It's great for that. Or I made a little sheath here for it to put on my belt. So that works out really well. I can put that on my belt, and I carry that like that. So put a belt through there. So that works for that. So it's really not a comfortable knife to put in your pocket, but it is a big knife, and everybody knows it's a big knife. One other thing, I guess, if I had my preference, I would have liked to seen them put the cap lifter, flat screwdriver, like in the one-hand Trekker and in the Army model. One that locked. This one does not lock, and one that's bigger, because they have a much bigger. Those models have a much bigger flat screwdriver. So it just looks sturdier, feels sturdier. So they didn't do that here. I don't know why. This is kind of like just your standard typical cap lifter and screwdriver, flat screwdriver. So let's see. Another thing, it's maybe a kind of a, it's not really anything bad, but it's just, this knife right here is $50. It's a $50 knife on Amazon right now. I think Knife Center right now has it for $55 plus shipping. I don't know, there's about the only two places I checked. But it's got a lot of tools, it's good quality, so it's worth the $50. But it's getting up there. It's getting up there. Overall, it's a great knife. And with the combination of tools that it comes with, it's not only good for around the house or in the office, but it's great for outdoor use, like hunting and around the camp. It's a perfect pocket knife for around the camp. There's a lot of things you can use this for around the camp or at the hunting camp or in your blind or whatever. So it's perfect for that. So alright guys, that's my review of the Victorinox Swiss Army Outrider. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. Also, as I said, if you like this review, comment on it, share, subscribe. I appreciate that. And remember, the Bible tells us that iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. So stay sharp, guys.